All right. What's up, guys? We are live. And I'm pretty excited about this conversation today. So, you know, it can be hard to manage unruly children, right? And guess what? Constantly complain, not very productive, very much so, just like your sales team, just like your technicians, right? Now, if you're watching this, you work in the trades, you know what I'm talking about because you may even do it, right? You may even be the guy I'm talking about. There's probably a good chance you are the guy that I'm talking about. Um, and and listen, here's the thing that drives me nuts. And this is, this. And look, I'm not on here selling you jack shit. Just understand, I'm not here selling you anything. But what I am offering is a bit of perspective for your sales team. Now, people struggle with trying to hire their sales team, or at least they're struggling with hiring people altogether. I'm going to get to that in a second. So, you got a minute, right? Hey, boss, got a minute. Hey, let me grab your ear for a quick second. Let me borrow you for 5 minutes. I just have a quick question. Dude, that shit happens all day, every day to business owners that don't have control of their teams, right? If you're answering 1,000 different questions a day, then you got to stop doing that. Unless there's a really valid reason. Well, there's not a valid reason. If you're answering 1,000 questions a day, you've hired the wrong person, or you're not managing them right. So the key to that could be that you don't need to manage them. Maybe you need to hire somebody that can manage them, or maybe you need to train them to figure this stuff out on their own, right? Look, you would have never figured out how to tie your shoes if you hadn't have failed 27,000 times first, right? So I don't want you to say it's a failure, right? It's just a learning lesson. And listen, this is not easy to manage people. I'm just going to tell you right now, because people call out. You've got bad employees sometimes. If you've got one, you've got a bunch. There's a million different things that could go sideways. But look, if you are a technician watching this, your boss feels like you're the unruly child. I mean, because you have poor communication, you have a lack of concern about your job. You don't really act like you care if you're there or not, which is mind-boggling to me. Let me ask you, why would you jump into a career if you didn't love what you were doing? I mean, like, you spent 4 years getting to where you are. I mean, I don't know about you, but it seems like a long time to do something that you're just going to act like a jackass about. And, but here's the problem, dude. Mr. Owner, here's the problem. You got a shitty team, and you probably need to fire them. Newsflash, shock. If you got people on your team that are not working, if you have people on your team that are late every day, if you have people on your team that drag ass at work, if you have people on your team that don't do what you say or don't do what you want them to do, you got to fire them. And you're probably thinking right now, Corey, how in the world am I going to fire somebody because we don't have enough help as it is? That was the point I was going to make earlier. Here's the point. If you trained your people better, let me take that back. If you trained your people at all, because I know you don't, right? Most companies do not consistently train their people. If they do consistently train their people, they're beating everybody else's ass. Because that's the key. It's repetition. You have to do these things. They're uncomfortable, but you have to do them if you want to be successful. You don't have to do them, but you're going to want to do them if you want to be successful. And look, it's not my business. Like it's not my company that's losing money. It's your company. It's your employees that are flushing it down the toilet. No pun intended. Actually, it was completely intended. But really, you got to think about that. You really got to, and you might have to fire your team. I know that's really scary, especially right now. But I would argue you may not have to fire your team. I think you can pull it together, but you may need help pulling it together. And I get that. And you've got to get the help that's required. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I'm going to screw this guy's name up. It's Gino something. Dang it. But he wrote the book Rocket Fuel. And so I'm on my second time listening to this book. I listened to it back to back because it's so good. And what it does is it explains what most entrepreneurs, most business owners are, which is the visionary, right? For me, I can see several steps ahead of most of the people I work with because part of it's because of ADHD. The other part is I just have I don't know how to explain it. And that's why I'm really good at what I do, because I know whatever that decision that you're about to make, I can see the implications or the benefits before you make that decision. I'm not saying I'm psychic by any stretch, because I'm not. But what I'm saying is this: I'm also observant, right? I observe everything around me. I pay attention. I listen. I look. I watch. At the end of the day, guess what? How else are you going to learn? You might be thinking, well, Corey, I can't learn just by watching a bunch of YouTube videos. You're right. You're absolutely right. YouTube's great, but you'll spend the next 3 lifetimes trying to figure out where all the videos are. Now, if you just had a place that you could go and learn all this stuff, that's what you should do. And that's coming up. But that's not coming up on this call. And so, look, this is a real thing. And you may just have 1 or 2 bad people. And guess what? It may be your manager. It may be your right-hand man. It may be the guy that you are 1,000% intending on taking over the company. Now, what if I come in and tell you that, sorry, dude, he's not your guy, right? You got to be prepared for that. If you're the owner, you have to be prepared for me to say to you, there's a chance he's not going to work out. Let's train him up. Let's give him some coaching. Let's figure out what the deal is, and I'll be back with you. And then what I do, and this is one of the things that I do the best, because, it's interesting. Actually, no, I'm not going to get off on that. So one of the things that I do the best is I always talk to the business owner, right? I talk to the business owner naturally. That's who hires me. And I get his or her perspective from what he thinks is happening in the company, where he feels like things could be shored up, where he feels like he or she feels like things could be fixed. And so I always refer to he, because most companies owned by plumbers are mostly men. From all I know, they are all men. But that's, again, I have limited knowledge of that, I guess. Point is this. Actually, I think I do know one woman. Actually, I do know one woman that owns a plumbing company. Anyhow, I think she's in Illinois, actually. Any freaking way. So, if you're the owner, like, and you're not very, if you're the visionary guy, right? If you're the guy that can see the things down the road, you can see the big picture, but you can't really put it into steps, maybe, or you just can't execute on it, or maybe you just don't execute on it. It could be any of those things. And guess what? Most people that own businesses have this same exact problem. And so my point in telling you about the book, I'm trying to tie that together for you, is that he describes me, right? He describes me in the first part of the book, which I'm the visionary. I can see, like I told you before, I'm going to repeat it. And then the second person is the, I'm forgetting actually what he called it, but essentially the executor. I can't remember the daggone name, but it starts with R, I feel like. Anyway, so what this person does is they execute on the ideas that the visionary has, because the vision, for me, I've got a million different ideas, right? But sometimes, or lots of times, some of those ideas are not going to work out. It is what it is, right? It's, everything seems great when you first cook it up, right? And then start sifting through the financial part of it or the muddiness of it, the stickiness of it, you may decide not to do it. Anyway, I think you got the point. The point is, if you're a visionary listening to this or watching it, visionary, then you should have that person in your life that can execute the things that you're not really great at executing on. And you've got to be aware. You got to have awareness to even know that. And so, look, all I'm saying is this. If, let's see, I knew I was going to lose it. I got distracted. I should have turned my messages off. See? Yeah, I completely lost it. But the whole point here is this. If you're the visionary, you need to have somebody execute stuff for you. If that is you, maybe you're the person that can execute, because I would argue that there's more known visionaries out there, right, than there are known executors, right? Because we don't think about, I should say for me, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about executing. I mean, I didn't think about hiring somebody to execute some of these things. Now, I've done that now. I did that before I read the book, actually, but I didn't really realize why I was doing it, if that makes sense. I just needed extra help. And so, and it's helped me tremendously. Now, look, there's some struggles with it, right? When you're hiring outside help, you don't always get exactly what you want. And guess what? They're also not going to do things exactly the way you want them. I mean, they're going to try their damnedest to do that, right? They should be trying. But you can't really expect people to think just like you. You can't expect people to think and digest things like you and understand, especially with me, because I'm ADHD, as you've seen on this call. I've kept sort of between the lines, but ultimately, I would take my medicine in several hours, so I'm probably all over the place. But you're used to that. So I'm gonna start doing these lives significantly more often, because I think it's important that you understand these things. I think it's important for the trades for you to understand these things. So you guys have a great day. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the other side.